choose the Lord. And so, between the ages of like 18 and so before university until after you graduate, you change a lot as a person. Your hormones stop fluctuating so much. Everything starts to like balance out. And that's why we always encourage people, if there is a time to start a relationship, it shouldn't be in your teenage years. It should be when you graduated or when you started working. Because then you know who you are, you know what you like, what you don't like. There's less changes happening. And so therefore you know what you want in the other person. And then sometimes we try to convince ourselves that what happened in the person's past is their past. I can move on. But remember the first statement that we said, is that your present will become your past, which will impact your future. Like I said, I'm not saying people don't change, they can. But if you think that you're going to get with somebody and you're going to change them, it's very, very unlikely. And even if they do change, they're changing for you, not for them. And that won't last very long. So look at their actions rather than their words and promises. So I've got some practical advice, because I've just given you a lot of theory, and I know this topic is about relationships, so you want some practical advice. And I've just got a few here that we'll go through, and then we'll conclude. If you're moving in a certain direction, you usually attract or are attracted to people moving in the same direction. So if you're someone who's ambitious in your life, you are attracted to people who are ambitious. And people will find you attractive. Same direction. Ensure you have the characteristics that you're looking for in others. So at the beginning when I gave you that list and you noted down the things that you wanted, let me ask you, are you the person? Do you have those characteristics or not? If you wanted someone to be, I don't know, financially stable, for example, are you financially stable? If you wanted someone who's honest, are you honest? If you wanted somebody who is a servant, are you a servant? This is just my opinion, but I believe that people are defined by certain characteristics. And that's what you should focus on in choosing your partner. Everything else is secondary. And I'll share with you how I chose my wife, or how God chose her for me in a way. So I love serving in church. I'm always at church. Church is my home, and my home is my second home. This is before I got married. I was always in church, and I loved serving God. Helping others, teaching, cleaning the church, just anything. I just love being in church. Meetings and conferences and everything. And then I thought to myself, okay, I think I'm ready for a relationship. I prayed, and God revealed my wife to me, and she also had a very big serving heart. And for me, that was the most important thing. Because if I spent my whole time in church serving, and my wife was at home, I then come home, I now have to serve her, and I'm exhausted. And that's unfair on me, but unfair on her. But if we're both serving in church together, then when we come home, we are together. We did everything together, we spent the whole day together. So I serve, and my wife serves. And I think for me, that was the most important thing. And you can choose whichever characteristic you want. But if you are someone, like I said, going in this direction, you are attracted to people going in the same direction as you. And I'm going to share with you 5 applications, just very, very short, very simple, practical advice. And this applications will help prepare you for when the time is right, so that your promises are not word but behavior. You're not just promising to be a good husband or a good wife, they are behavior. Application number 1, get involved in church now. Not later, not when I'm older, not when I'm retired. Now is the time to get involved in church. In Ecclesiastes it says, remember now you're created in the days of your youth before the difficult days come. And they didn't have to deal with mortgage and interest rates and things like that then. But this is very relevant even today. Why would you want to marry someone who doesn't go to church, but you want to take your kids to church? It doesn't make sense. And don't make excuses. Speak to Abuna or the servants. Find something for you to do. There is in a growing church like this, I know there is so many things that can be done. If you're not sure of what your talents are or what you can help with, speak to the deacons and the servants and Abuna and say, I would like to help with this, or what can I do to help? And it doesn't have to be something public. It could be come after everybody's left and maybe help with the cleaning, or maybe help make food in advance, or something like that. Or it could be, if you drive, could you pick somebody up on your way to church? Or could you drop somebody home? Or go visit this older person's house and help them with their grocery shop, or something like that, I don't know. But there will be something to do. And like I said, don't waste this time. Don't waste your youth and your energy. There will come a time where you will not have the capacity to do all these things. When you have a husband or a wife, and you have children, and you've got all these responsibilities, you will wish that you use this time wisely. Again, going back to the first thing, which is what we do today becomes our past, impacts our future. So make use of this time. Application number 2 is to address any unresolved childhood issues and break bad habits now. I cannot stress how important this is. Address any unresolved childhood issues and break your bad habits now. Sit with yourself and see what areas you need to change, or at least start working on them way before marriage, and even when you're still single. In fact, when you're single, this is the best time to do it, because you don't need to worry about the other person. But sit with yourself. Say, for example, I sit with myself and I say, I am an impatient person, I am an angry person, or I am someone who, I don't know, is vain. I like to focus on the outward appearance more than the inward appearance. What can I do to change these things? Nobody can tell you this. Only you, when you sit down with yourself, will be able to do that. And remember, any single life problems you have will become magnified in marriage. So resolve them now while it's easier before getting into a relationship or getting into marriage. Don't ignore them and help them go away. They will not go away. If you are someone who's struggling with lust, marriage is not the problem. Sex is not going to be the problem. If you are someone who has bad habits of, I don't know, you interrupt people when they speak, do not wait to get married to resolve those issues. Resolve them now. Just many different examples. And remember, we want to work on the best version of ourselves now and fulfill the potential that God has for us. This is what our focus should be in relationships. Not on the other person, focusing on myself. Application number 3, financial stability. Get out of debt as soon as you can. Be smart with your money. Learn how to spend and how to save. It's less about the money itself, but more important about the mentality and the maturity that you will develop. And this will help keep you disciplined, which again is a behavior helping you with preparation rather than a promise. You don't say, I promise I will look after us financially. No, prepare. Be someone who's smart with their money. Learn when to invest, when to spend, when to save, how to do things in the right way. So research, learn, budget, so you can be financially ready when the time is right. Application number 4, focus on inner beauty, not the outer beauty. There's an example here with fishing. When you come to fish for a certain type of fish, you use different types of bait. And this is more for the ladies. If you catch him with your body, you will have to keep him with your body. This is a reality. So a guy will be attracted to a girl and says, she looks beautiful, she's stunning, great figure, her face, everything, da-da-da-da. And then 10, 20 years down the line, well, she doesn't look like she looked before. So what does that mean? Your marriage ends? And for the women, if you focus a lot on your outward appearance, you're going to have to maintain that, which is not fair on you, but also not fair on your future partner. I like this verse from 1 Peter. He says, your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold, jewelry, and fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. For this is the way the holy women of the past who put their hope in God used to adorn themselves. This also applies to men, not just women, but I think the reality is that men are attracted to what they see more than women. Women are attracted more to what they hear. And that's why, no, I'll stop there, I won't see the questions. But yeah, let's just do that for both women. Application number 5, if you are in a relationship, please stop the physical intimacy. Please stop any physical intimacy. No one will tell you what you can and can't do because everyone is different. But the general rule is that you do not do anything that will cause you sexual gratification. If holding hands arouses you, gives you sexual gratification, you should stop it. If it doesn't, it's okay. If you kiss the other person, if that gives you sexual gratification, then you should stop it. Because we discussed before that God designed relationships and sex in a way to be with one person at the right time, which is in marriage. And do not let the devil enter your relationship. Do not give God any reason to remove his blessings from you. You remember the triangle that we discussed? Sexual immorality removes God from that triangle. So it's man, woman, and God. And the moment they enter into sexual immorality, God is removed from that triangle. And we don't want that. And this verse from 2 Timothy, it says, flee also youthful lusts. Flee, not fight. If you remember Joseph the Righteous in the Old Testament, when he was at Potiphar's house and Potiphar's wife wanted to sleep with him, he didn't fight it, he didn't resist it, he didn't try to argue, he didn't try to explain. What did he do? He fled. He ran away. And this is more for the men. We try to think that we can fight our lustful thoughts, or I'm going to be strong. Or if you decide to go to, I don't know, a strip club and say, I'm not going to look, it doesn't make sense. So flee your youthful lusts, but pursue righteousness, faith, love, peace, with those who call on the Lord out of the pure heart. And so some final advice. So I'll give you a chance if you have any questions or anything. Remember, learn who you are as a person before dating someone. This is really important. People don't know who they are. They don't sit with themselves. They don't think. They just go with the flow. Oh yeah, she seems nice. Okay, let's go for it. Oh, okay, he seems like a nice guy from church. Let's go for it. Think. Learn who you are first. This usually happens after you finish studying, or when you're working, or living on your own. I don't know if you guys have ever, some of you have moved out for university, or you've lived on your own. You learn about yourself. Like being at home with your parents is one thing. Living on your own, completely different. You learn what you like, what you don't like. Am I a clean person? Am I tidy? Am I messy? Am I organized? How do I budget? How do I, like all of these things. It would be a real shame for you to date someone who could have potentially been your spouse, but you ruined it because you got together too soon and you both grew up into people you don't like. There's people in my church who started dating at the age of like 14, obviously behind their parents' back. And they were together for like, I don't know, 8 years or something. By the time they're 22, she's changed, he's changed, they're no longer compatible with each other, they've just wasted 8 years of their life. Or worse than that, they'll force themselves to marry each other just because they've been together for so long. But that's why we don't recommend doing that. Do everything in the open. Tell your parents as soon as you can. And tell your father of confession as soon as you can. And for that last session we had a priest come speak to you about your father of confession. It's not just about sins, it's about guidance. And remember I said at the beginning that there's many mistakes that happen in relationships due to bad decision making and lack of guidance. And don't worry too much about what others will say. If you do right by God and right by your parents, don't worry about what others will say. And always pray so that God is involved in your triangle and he will guide you in the process of dating. It is not easy. But if God is guiding you, then you'll be okay. And then differentiate between cultural traditions and godly traditions. My very first talk with you was here about small t and capital T traditions. And we're trying to accommodate your parents and prioritize God's commandments first. And our parents will have a different mentality about this, a different view, and while you're being respectful to them, try to understand their point of view, and as much as you can, adhere to it. So, to summarize, make your expectations of a relationship realistic. Do not base it on Disney or Hollywood or stuff that you see on Netflix. They're just not true. Marriage is hard, but is the best thing in the world. The first profound statement was that your present will soon become your past, which will have an impact on your future. So don't waste your time today, make use of it. Work on the best possible version of yourself. Find out what is wrong with me, let me fix it. Let me work on my single life problems so that when the time is right, I don't continue them into my marriage relationship. The second profound statement was, are you the person looking for? You can't focus on your future husband, your future wife. You may not know who they are. You may have never met them, but you can focus on yourself. As I said, marriage is a vow between the couple and God. This is a triangle. Husband, wife, God. You get closer to God, you get closer to each other. And preparation leads to results, not promises. Preparation. Plan ahead. Get yourself ready. Understand how to be healthy, how to be financially stable, how to be a good listener, a good communicator. This is something that I struggled with in the past. I grew up in a household where we didn't speak about our emotions. You were a man, you do not cry, you stay strong, and you deal with it. And that's not necessarily a good thing if you internalize everything. When I got married, it was very difficult for me to share and express my emotions with my wife. I wish I had this talk earlier. I would have worked on this. And like I said, focus on making the best possible version of yourself. Imagine when the time is right and you meet someone and who's interested in you and you're like, I'm ready. This is the best possible version of myself. I'm mature, I'm ready to be a husband or a wife, like I'm good. Rather than something is still a work in progress. When you want to go and buy something, you don't want it to be a work in progress. You want it to be the finished product. And that's what we need to try and do with God. And if you remember, I did the 5 applications, which is to serve. So get involved in church now. Resolve your single life problems. Sit down with yourself, address them, start working on them. You don't necessarily have to fix them, but at least you acknowledge them and you're working on them. Financial stability, focus on inner beauty, and stop the physical intimacy. And I'll leave this slide for you here, just some homework, maybe for the next session. I won't know if you do it, but I think it would be good if you do it. If you go back to your phones and look at the top 3 attributes you put down, and just discuss or just think about it, if you do this in a group or something, or with yourself, have you changed your mind, or are they still the same top 3? And that was the first statement. Your present will become your past, which will have an impact on your future. And the next one is, do you believe that there is one person out there who is perfect specifically for you? Maybe you still do, I don't know. And the second statement was, are you the person you're looking for is looking for? You don't want to be like that girl who says, I think I found him, but he's not interested in you. And then what preparation steps can you take now to help you stop bad habits or start good habits that will help make you become a better partner? If you are a woman who wants a godly man, and this man does not go to church, or he does not pray, or he does not read his Bible, or he does not serve, why would you expect him to do that after you get with him? So don't focus on the other person, focus on yourself, and start to work on your own bad habits and start good habits. And then, do you believe that you can change someone to make them better suited to you, and should you try to change them? I don't know. That's maybe a discussion for another time. But that's just some things for you to have a look at. I'll leave the summary there. Thank you very much for your time, and open to any questions. Thank you.
We hands up and then we don't go if you don't.
You can agree or disagree with me, it's up to you. Anything that you liked or didn't like, any comments, if you want to add anything or ask any questions.
I've got a question. Thank you again. That was a very thought-provoking talk. So my question is about, of course, we're not perfect and you shouldn't try to find a perfect person, but where do you balance the line when it comes to, I guess, your personal red flags or like no when it comes to characteristics? Because first thing for me is it's the thing where I do believe people change, but I haven't really seen a lot of people change. So like it's friends, families, when they have a certain characteristic or habit that's bad, I haven't seen a lot of people change. So I don't have that great faith that people will change unless they have a problem with anger. I wouldn't think, you know what, let me go forward with it because they might change. I just assume that that's going to ruin them for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Which is a bit pessimistic, but it just seems like, yes, God can change people, but I don't see a lot of us are willing to.
No, that's a very good point. I think this is what I'm saying about having a good support system around you or guidance, and to have the wisdom to be able to understand, is this something that I can live with, or is this something that I'm going to struggle with for the rest of my life in terms of like accepting this in the other person. I think the red flags that you have, try not to focus on other people's red flags. Try to think of what are my red flags. What if somebody's attracted to me, or if somebody wants to be with me, what would be the issues that they will have with me? And if you're someone who has anger issues or a lust issue or, I don't know, materialistic bad habits and stuff, that's what you should focus on. I think trying to find the right balance between, like I said, trying to change someone is very, very difficult. Also depends on the age. There's like so many different factors, but if they're still growing up and they're like changing slowly as a person, they might change. But if you meet someone who's a little bit older, they are who they are. That's going to be very hard to change. So if you think that this person has anger issues, but actually I have a lot of patience, maybe we can work together. But if, I don't know, it's very hard to answer like in different scenarios, but I'd say the most important thing is to try to focus on your own red flags. And if you have the wisdom and the guidance around you, then God will say to you, this is the right time, this woman for you, and think, okay, I've worked on myself, I think I'm ready, let us start this relationship and see what it will be like. I don't know, it's a very good question, very difficult. Any other questions or comments from anybody? Yeah, back then?
So, as you said, you married yourself. How did you know that you were ready personally, and like us as men in general, we feel like, oh, we have to have so much ready before we actually accumulate our other half. So, how would you say that you felt that you were ready? Like, was it like more of a God's presence kind of thing, or did you just know?
It's a great question. Thank you for that. I do feel like there is a lot of pressure on men these days that we have to be so many things before we get married or start a serious relationship. We need to be like financially stable, we need to have good careers, we need to be God-fearing men. There's a lot of pressure on us, and I do feel like sometimes when you look back, you think, I'm not ready, I'm not perfect, there's still so much more for me to do. But I think the key for me personally is that I was very in tune with God, because I'm praying and reading my Bible, and praying and reading my Bible. And if you remember the last time I was here, I spoke about when we pray to God, is us sending him voice notes. And then he sends us voice notes back in our Bibles. And so it's very hard to have a conversation with God if you're not reading your Bible. And if you think, is this the right, whatever question you have, whatever decision you want to make in life, career, relationship, whatever it is, if you're in sync with God's voice, then when he speaks, you will hear it, you will recognize it, and you will make that decision. And when I came to get married, I was in sync with God, and I was praying, and God was answering. He said, yeah, this is for you. Yes, this is the right time. Yes, go ahead with it. And I didn't worry too much about, financial stability and all these things. I knew, I worked, I saved, I just didn't know, the details and breaking everything down, but I trusted in God. And so I didn't just sit there not doing anything, but at the same time, I didn't overthink it or overcomplicate it. I realized that when God blesses a decision, he will open the doors for you. And if he's not blessing your decision, he will close doors for you. And I remember I had my father confession. I went to him. I said to him, I met this girl, and I think she's a great servant, and I think this could work, but I'm not sure if this is the right time, so I'm not going to do anything. And then my father confession said to me, why are you trying to close doors that God has opened? And so I said, okay, I'm going to go for it. So I think, like I said, there is a lot of pressure on us men, but I think we need to do what we can, preparation, so that when the time is right, you're not having to, get ready as soon as possible. I hope that answers your question. Any other questions or comments from anyone?
Yeah, I've got a question as well. That's all right. You said yourself that you've been with your wife for about 11 years.
Yes.
Now, we're never perfect. Yeah, we're never perfect. We'll never be perfect as well, no matter how close you get to God. There's always going to be disagreements or arguments within the relationship. How now, centering God as well in the relationship, how now do you deal with arguments or disagreements?
It's a very good question. 11 years of marriage has taught me that